All right, guys, so today we're going to be building our gate, and there's a few tips and tricks I'll go over for building a strong gate that won't sag. So we'll get right into it. All right, so I already got my wood cut here, but one helpful thing if you don't have the right saws and everything, kind of like me, I just do everything with the circular saw. To get square cuts, you can just line up a square on there and use the square as your guide to get a perfectly square cut, and you'll know you'll be right every time. All right, so here I got the main frame of the gate all laid out, and there will be a center support. We'll talk about that a bit later, but this is going to be the outside of my gate looking in. I want the inside to look the best, so I just went through my wood and found the grain pattern I liked and put that on the bottom side here, so it'll be on the inside of the gate. You can see this top piece has a pretty cool pattern, so once we stain it all up, it should look pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this together. All right, so I'm going to be pocket screwing this all together, and I just picked up one of these nice little pocket screw jigs. You can see it has your board thickness on it, so we're at 1.5 inches, set it at 1.5 inches, and then you also put your guide on your drill bit at 1.5 inches. Just trust me, it says 1.5 inches on there. The reason I'm pocket screwing it is just because it's a clean look. By all means, you could just drive screws through there, but since I am building this all on its edge, pocket screws work the best. I'm doing it all on edge because it just adds rigidity to it to avoid sagging in the future. I'm also going to be running the pocket screws so that the hole is facing down so that your holes don't end up holding water. So I will drill me some holes and show you guys what that looks like. All right, so we got 2 of our holes made there, so you can see the screws will go right in the bottom of that board. No, they're not perfectly center, but we are going for functionality here, so it'll work for me. We'll get this screwed together, and once I move to the top, then I will be putting the pocket screws in this board going up so that, again, the water won't sit in the holes. So I'm going to go ahead, get this thing all screwed together, and then we will go over our cross bracing and the math and physics / engineering, whatever you want to call it, behind why we're doing it the way we're doing it. We are using these 2.5 inch screws because that's what's sized for this thickness of board, and we're screwed together at 3 of the corners, and as you can see, nobody can make straight lumber anymore, so it's awesome. We'll pull it over and screw it together. All right, so when you are building a gate with a cross brace, your cross brace needs to go from the bottom on the hinge side to the top. A lot of the times you see people put the cross brace from the top on the hinge side to the bottom. When it's on top to bottom, your board is under tension, so the only thing holding your gate from sagging is the screws. So everything is hanging on the screws, and over time, if they start to slip or, boards warp, your gate starts to droop, and you see a lot of drooping gates. When you put your board from top to bottom, your board is actually under compression, and there's some cool videos out there on YouTube showing how you can actually set the crossboard in there with all the corners loose, and the gate will hold on its own because that board is under compression. You see a lot of like gate tensioners to fix a sagging gate. Those will go from top to bottom, but even over time, your line starts to stretch and you have to keep tightening your turnbuckle to keep your gate from sagging. So a little bit of math involved here. Let's see if I can get in some light. But you want to make sure that your angle of your board is not less than 45 degrees, because after 45 degrees, it loses its purpose of being in compression. So to do that, you just need to know your side length and top length. If you remember your SOHCAHTOA from math, your tangent is the opposite divided by the adjacent. But to find your angle, you take the inverse tangent. These are not my exact measurements, but this is how it works out. You end up with a 59-degree angle, which is obviously bigger than 45. If I wouldn't have done my center support, my angle would have been too great and I wouldn't have got the effect I was looking for. So we're going to do a cross brace like this on both of these openings from bottom to top so that they're both in compression. And I just line the board up at the corner down here. Instead of measuring my angles and everything down here, I just marked it with a Sharpie, and we'll get this cut off and I'll get back with you before we drill our pocket screws and screw this thing in here. So, got our cross brace cut. As you can see here, I got it super tight, and we are just going to take a hammer and knock that in. So we got that put in, tight fit, as you can see here. And the angle wasn't quite the best, but for an outside gate, it'll work just fine. And one thing I forgot here is it's going to be pretty hard to drill my pocket screw holes with this board put in here. So we're going to pull it out and get those holes drilled. So as we can see here, almost done, and I have myself a problem. This is the point in the video where we start doing some shade tree woodwork, because that's all the wood I have left and I really don't feel like waiting to go to the store. So I cut out this little guy. Since it's in compression, we will just pocket screw these together, maybe do some sanding and wood filling, and it'll be what it'll be. All right, well, here we go. Here's my little splice. Doesn't look half bad. 10 feet away, you won't even know. If any of you guys watching this know my dad, you know he's a perfectionist, and he's going to have a heyday when he sees that. So whatever, it works for now. If I ever need to replace it, we'll get it done. So I just need to sand it down on both sides, stain it, put the hinges in, and I'm going to do that tomorrow because it is getting late. So we will come back then. Little side note here before we end off. I just tried picking this thing up from the hinge side, and it is incredibly heavy. So I'm not sure if my little Amazon hinges are quite going to work, but we can figure that out later. All right, y'all. So I got this backside all stained, and we just opened up our fence, laid it out, and I'm just using some fencing staples, and we're just gonna hammer this in, get it straight as possible, and snip off the end. I'll probably just get this knocked out, and we'll catch up with what it looks like when I'm done. All right, so we got our fence all stapled down, and just a little tip, especially when you're running up the grain, make sure and get your staples cross grain. So you don't want to put your staples with the grain because it can cause the wood to crack. And if the wood cracks, your staples won't be holding anymore, versus if it cracks with them cross the grain like that, at least one end will still be holding. Another little tip here, my fencing was a little loose, so you just go up and twist every one of these. I have 2 more here, so we'll just grab a hold, twist it up like that, and kind of hard to show here, but it does tighten it. So once we do the fence, I'm sure we'll have some spots that are a little loose, and we'll just go down the edge and snug it up. But I'm going to get this gate stood up so I can stain the other side, and we'll be ready for hinges and to put it on. Alright, so I got the gate hung, put 2 hinges up top since this thing's so heavy. I really wanted the wood side facing in just because it looks better, but this post just isn't very sturdy in this concrete mount, so we flipped it around and we're going to do it this way. And with the cross bracing so it's strong, it opens right up. I was thinking about maybe putting a wheel on the bottom, but until we start sagging a little bit, we're not going to do that. So this gap, I hate it. It's not straight, but it'll do for now. Alright, so we got a finished fence all the way around here, and other than the posts, you really can't see where it's at. Really disappears in the background, so looks good, and that'll be all for this one.